Hickok 45 here, and I'm bringing you guys out to my range. My range is not as nice as it normally is. I don't have a gong to shoot at, or a small cowboy, or a tree, or anything like that. So we're just going to put some targets up over here on the side of the ditch. That ought to be a pretty safe way to do it. And I want to take a moment to thank my sponsors over at Bud's Gun Shop. They provided us with some high premium federal ammunition. We're going to be using that up today, and we're going to be using our good old trusty Glock 17, one of the best tools you can have in your toolbox. So let me get you pulled in here and we'll show you what we're all about. So obviously, just kidding guys, I'm not Hickok 45, sorry to disappoint. And I better not joke too much, because I remember one time Crowder did a little skit, a little parody of Hickok 45, and apparently Hickok got pretty pissed off about it. So the last thing I want to do is piss somebody off that can hit a gong with a 9mm at 300 yards. So Hickok, it's just all in fun and jokes and everything, and you're one of my favorite channels. Yeah, really, to be honest, you're the best gun channel on YouTube. So I tease you because I love your channel, and I love what you guys are all about. So anyways, we don't do very many firearms related videos here on the channel, because you know there's a gray area there where YouTube will demonetize you if you do certain things and whatever. So a while back I did a survey, and I think this may be the most important question I've ever asked here on the channel, and I got a pretty good amount of feedback, a pretty good amount of replies from this. So I wanted to share this with you. On the community side over there on YouTube, you can actually put in like a 4 or 5 part survey, and my question was, what is the best handgun for SHTF? You know, when the shit hits the fan. We all feel it coming. So what's the best handgun? Not rifle. I'm not talking about, you know, what's the best platform in general. I'm talking about handguns in particular. You know, obviously you're going to probably have some sort of a long rifle, you know, maybe an AR or an AK platform, or maybe a 30-30 or a bolt action or something like that. But you're going to have a handgun as your up close and personal, your backup defense, you know, for when all else fails. And if nothing else, it's great to have for self-defense around your house and stuff like that. Now, obviously the range is limited on a handgun compared to a rifle and stuff, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about which handgun is best handgun for SHTF. One of them I had listed was a .357 Magnum revolver. And while I love a .357 Magnum revolver, like a 686 or Model 27, the Highway Patrol, I mean, I just love large frame Smith & Wesson revolvers. They're some of the best things you can ever have. So don't get discouraged if your favorite one wasn't picked as number one. But there's reasons that revolvers aren't as good as a semi-automatic. Number one, most obvious reason, is the limited capacity you're going to have with like a 6-shooter, right? Even with speed loaders and stuff like that, it's very difficult to compete with something like this that holds 17 in the clip and 1 in the hole. I mean, that's 18 rounds right there. And so therefore, I can put a lot more lead down range than you can in a short amount of time with a, you know, I can do it better with this than you can with a revolver. That's my point. And you have more capacity before you have to reload. Now, there is an argument to be made, and it's much more of an old school argument. But I remember years ago, some of the people that I talked to in the gun culture that I'm in, people around me and stuff like that, they swear that, and it's probably true, that you can be more accurate with a Smith & Wesson .357 revolver, or maybe a 44 Magnum or something like that, or a 44 Special. You can get a lot more accuracy out of that platform than you can out of a Glock or any other 9mm, or even higher calibers. You're going to get a lot more accuracy out of that just because of the nature of the device. You know, all it has to do is line that cylinder up, and all you have to do is get those targets on. But I wanted to talk about one of the things that few people talk about. Years ago, people used to always say, well, revolvers don't jam. And while 99.9% of the time that is true, I remember hearing about a horror story years ago that made me a believer in that you shouldn't be carrying a revolver as your everyday carry. And the reason why is there was a story, I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounded logical to me. There was a story of a guy that, I don't know what the situation was, but he was in trouble, and He got out of the truck, and as he got out, his gun fell down on a gravel road. And you guys that are in the know, you probably already know what I'm going to say. He picked up the gun and needed to use it. That was why he was getting out of the truck, and it jammed up. Why did it jam? Because a tiny little piece of gravel got inside of there in the cylinder, in the front of the cylinder, so it wasn't able to rotate. Now, I'm sure you could probably easily clear that jam and get back into business, but you're not going to have that happen with a good old semi-automatic Glock or, SIG or any other Ruger, whatever your preference is. And, there have been a lot of guns that have basically copied this. They used to call these Tupperware guns. I remember back in the early days of the Glock, the old timers that were into 1911s and stuff like that, they would joke and say, yeah, that's a Tupperware gun. That's going to melt if you put it on your dash or whatever, or you leave it in your car. And of course, that's not true. The polymer is very advanced and very good. I've never had any issues with this. I've had this gun. This is my longest owned gun that I've ever had. And it's just because it's just that damn good. It's so good that I can't replace it. Other friends of mine have the 19 model. This is a model 17. The 19 is just a little bit shorter. It's about to right here, and the handle's a little thinner and shorter and stuff, but I don't like it. I like the full size pistol. It's in this platform, it's pretty lightweight. So 8% of the people, or I'm sorry, 7% of the people voted that 357 Magnum or some sort of revolver was going to be the best SHTF solution. Again, you run what you brung. A lot of it is what you're comfortable with, and several people in the comments came in and said that, and I agree with that 100%. If you've got a 357 Magnum and you can knock the nuts off a squirrel at 100 yards, then there would be no reason for you to get something like this. I'm more talking to people that don't know, or they're just getting into firearms. It can be intimidating. There's so many different calibers, so many different options and stuff like that, but it's hard to beat the old tried and true G17 Glock or clone of a Glock, which is, there's many of them. There's everybody makes one, whether it be Walther or Ruger. Everybody makes a clone of a Glock now, where it's metal on the top and polymer on the bottom for lightweight, strength, and speed and stuff like that. And they're usually fairly high capacity, like 17+1, like this Glock is. So our last place entry was 357 Magnum. 7% of the people thought that was the best thing for SHTF, best handgun for SHTF. Number 2 on the list was a 22 cal, and I was a little bit surprised by this. The reason I added 22 caliber on the list was because you can carry a boatload, let's just say, of 22 ammo, even loose in your pocket. You can carry so much 22 ammo, and I thought more people would select that just for the fact that 22 ammo is lightweight. It's ubiquitous. I mean, everyone that is into guns has a 22. So if something happened long term, this is one of the reasons why you want to think really, use your logic and reason on this. You want to figure out, okay, right now I can go down to the store and still buy ammo if I can find it. But what if one day it's post-collapse and you can't get ammo anymore? What are the most common sizes going to be? What are the most common calibers going to be? And I guarantee you 22 is going to be one of them. 22 is in just about everybody's home that has a firearm. I would reckon it's probably more than 99% of the people that are into firearms of any kind have a 22, at least one. Most of the time, that's what people have multiples in, is their 22. You might have a pistol, you might have a couple of 10-22 rifles, you might have a bolt action for more precise hunting, things like that. But it's a great caliber. So I was really surprised only 8% of the people thought that would be a great gun or the best handgun for SHTF. So I understand people, 22 doesn't have a lot of knockdown, takedown power, or man-stopping power, however you want to put it. It doesn't have as much power as any of these other calibers we've talked about, or we're going to talk about, but you can carry so much of it. I kind of expected that 22 would be a lot higher on the list, like maybe number 2. So let's get up to number 2 here. Number 2 was your granddad's 45 ACP, 1911. Tried and true, been around since 1911. There are just so many variations and custom models of the 1911 that it'll just, for one thing, you can go broke if you're a 1911 person, because there's just so many new things all the time, and people, tuning them and they've had enough time with that platform that they've worked out all the bugs, and they know and they've made adjustments and put like the extra beaver tail and different things like that on the back of it, or the duck tail or whatever they call it back there. You know, basically highly customized target pistols, and they're super precise. They're very good. I've shot a lot of them over the years, but I don't own one, and I'll tell you why. I'd like to own one. If ammo wasn't the prices that it is now, I probably would have one or two mil-spec 1911s, just because I do love them. I love the history of them. I love the way it feels, a big solid steel gun. I mean, it's just, they're awesome. They're awesome. But they're heavier, they're lower capacity, they're more sensitive to jamming up than a gun like this. One time, years ago, somebody told me something really funny, because I was new to Glocks back then, and I was like trying different ammo and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, you think it'll work with this Blazer stuff, with the aluminum casings? And that person told me, they were like, yeah, you could put dog turds in that thing and it'd fire. And I believe it. These things, I'm not gonna do it to mine because I love mine, but you could take these, throw them down in the dirt, pour muddy water all of them, stick them in your freezer, freeze them up, and pull them out and use them, and it's very likely it's going to work flawlessly. These things are just, unstoppable machines, unlike a 45 1911. If you get a little bit of dirt and dust in a 1911 somewhere that it doesn't belong, it just won't work. So that's been my experience with them. They're more prone to jamming. Ammo's a lot more expensive just because you're buying a much bigger piece of lead. Now, man stopping power, stopping ability, being able to take something down with one shot, obviously the 45 is going to be the top of the list here of the calibers we're talking about. 357 would be number 2, and then 9mm would be last, or number 3, and then 22 would be last, obviously, because of the size, if nothing else, the size alone. But a lot of that has to do with where you put where you're targeting, what you're targeting, if you hit somebody, if we're just talking center mass, obviously 45 is going to be the king. 357 might be a close second, or it might even be first place, to be honest. There's a big debate about whether 357 is actually better than 45 and all this, and I'm sure you've seen the videos about 9mm versus 45 and all this, and a lot of people like to run down the 9mm. But I've looked at many different videos where they're shooting it through ballistic gel, and the point is 9mm is good enough, at least in my opinion. So 45s are a great platform. I love them, and I'd love to have one. It's just, again, they're pretty expensive to get into compared to a Glock or any other Glock clone. But 19% of the people out there that participated in this survey, they think that that's the best handgun for SHTF. And on one hand, I agree, for stopping power, for, if you're trained up on that, again, it's what you have and what you're used to is going to be the most important thing. It's not so much what everybody else thinks, it's what do you have and what you're used to, what are you comfortable with? That's the most important thing. If you're comfortable with a 45 1911, and again, you can knock the nuts off a squirrel at 50 or 75 yards and hit the gong like Hickok at 300 yards with a 45, then hey, more power to you. That's probably the best platform for you. My problem with it is I'm a poor boy and I can't afford to be buying 45 ammo as much as I like to shoot. So back in the day, I chose 9mm. And I remember when I first got into 9mm, you could go down to Walmart, and it's back in like 2010 to 2012, something like that. You could go down to Walmart and get a 100-round box of Winchester target rounds for $11. $11. I miss those days terribly. I wish now if I could go back in time, I'd have bought a lot more of it and put it up in ammo cans, but you do what you can. But yeah, 45 ACP 1911, that was 19%. So let's move on to the number 1. The number 1, as we've been talking about here today, is this platform here. 9mm. It doesn't have to be a Glock necessarily, but something with a steel slide, steel upper, and a polymer lower. I think that's going to be your best bet. These things are extremely easy to clean and maintain for somebody that's getting into firearms for the first time, where a 45 is a little different. You got to know the trick. You got to pull the thing out right, or else it's not going to come out. This thing here, I could probably take it apart with one hand. In fact, I use this Glock as my everyday carry all the time. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's dirt and dust and lint and stuff all over this thing. There's grit and grime. I carry it with me when I'm running my brush hog and stuff like that, so it gets totally dirty. And yeah, I usually clean it out once in a while, but I decided this time I wouldn't clean it, just to show you guys that it doesn't matter with a Glock. Again, these are the most rugged platform that I've ever seen. You can go watch video after video where people are just abusing the hell out of these things, and they pick them up and they still fire. It's amazing. I don't know if the guy's still on there or not, but there was one, I remember years ago, FPS Russia. I think he got banned or got kicked off of the, I think he went to prison or something for something he was involved with. But back in the day, he got a hold of a G18, which is the one I'd really like to have. And it's a full auto version of this. And you throw a couple of 33 round magazines in, I mean, you've got something special there. I mean, it's amazing. And that guy, he got the thing red hot and it was still firing. It was still working just fine. Glock perfection. There's a reason they went with that slogan. So I just wanted to give you guys some ideas here. You know, the best comment that I had, and I got a good chuckle out of this. One guy said, 9 mil for the hoods, 10 mil for the woods. And I thought, not only is that a good little rhyme to help you remember it, but it's totally true. It's totally true. There's some places in the United States where if you're in cougar country or bear country or anything like that, where you could be attacked by a large animal, then you're probably going to want 10 mil. Here where I am in the central United States, we don't have that much of a threat. There are some random cougars from time to time, but they don't usually mess with people and stuff like that. They usually want to stay away from people. And I think with a 9 mil, I'd be able to take it down, especially with 17 in the clip and 1 in the hole. So anyways, enough rambling on. Let's see how this thing works after it's been in my holster for probably over a year now, and I've just been carrying it around. Let's see and make sure that it still works. We'll put some lead on target and have a little bit of fun. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to shoot more than about 50 rounds because, I mean, shit, I just can't afford to replace it. Here's another great thing about the Glock. That's a 33 round magazine right there. And you talk about putting a smile on your face. You put one of these, if you've got 33 rounds to put in there, it is a lot of fun to just, you know, find yourself a target and dump a few rounds out of this 33. So we'll start out with something a little smaller. We'll start out with just a normal 17 round magazine and we'll get her started. Love it, man. It's hard to beat. Again, their slogan is the best, Glock perfection. So let's get set up here and we'll take a few shots. Got to remember to get my ears on like old Hickok 45. Boy, I tell you, watching videos on YouTube for all these years, if I could go shoot anyone's range with somebody else, you know, with someone there, it would be Hickok 45. He just seems like a really good guy. The kind of guy you wish was your granddad or your uncle or something like that, because you know he's probably got more ammo than you and I could ever even imagine. Just get my ears on here. Go on, buddy. No, the only reason I'm really doing a Hickok 45 impersonation badly is because somebody told me a long time ago, they were like, oh, you sound just like Hickok 45. So I thought, hey, why not run with it? Anyways, we'll start out with the 17 here. We'll show you. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can't put a couple on that gong over there. Back up. Go on, buddy. Back up. It's all right. You're all right, buddy. Oh, love it. Oh, only problem is it goes too fast. Goes too fast. So much fun. If you can't have fun doing that, man, there's something wrong with you. All right, it's time for the big 33. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Just look at that, man. I mean, that's a ready-made subgun right there. Ready to rock. we'll get a little bit, make sure I'm in frame here. That way you guys can kind of have the experience here. Uh-oh, a jam. No big deal though. Oh man, that was it. Maybe I didn't have that mag loaded all the way, I don't know. Damn, now I'm wishing I'd have brought more. That's the only problem with shooting, is you always want to shoot more. At least I do. So anyways, guys, hopefully I've given you some things to chew the fat on. I love a Glock 9mm. I mean, there's just hardly anything better. You got the drop-free mags. You could find these mags fairly cheap at one time, but I don't know if that's still the thing anymore. But anyways, I recommend this Glock 17. Even though we had one little hiccup, it's probably because it's so dirty. I haven't cleaned this thing in over a year. And again, I've been carrying it around the farm. But as you can see, other than that one little hiccup, it worked flawlessly. And we'll just show you real quick how easy it is. You have to pull the trigger first, and then what I do is turn the gun upside down like this, and you pull it back like 1/4 of an inch, and then there's 2 tabs on here on the sides, and you push those up, and once you push those up and push forward, the whole slide, the barrel, everything comes out. And yeah, she's a little warm, but once you've got it apart like that, it's quite a bit easier to clean up and get inside of there. And just a great tool to help you during SHTF. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Let me know in the comments. I guess I don't have to yell at you. Let me know down in the comments, what are your favorite handguns to have for SHTF? I think in the next video, or the next survey I do, we'll talk about what is the best long rifle to have for an SHTF. You know, AR, AK, you know, your granddad's lever action, you know, on and on, bolt action, whatever you may think is the best for certain circumstances. And a lot of times it's like that. Different situations require different tools, you know. So obviously if you're going to do long range shooting, unless you're Hickok 45, you're probably going to want to have a rifle of some kind, you know. So anyways, I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the thumbs up if you did. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Make sure and check the bell notification. A lot of people are getting unsubscribed from the channel, and they're getting their bell unrung. So go ring the bell. That way you'll get notifications when we put out great videos like this. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too. I had a blast making this, and look forward to making more videos like this. Now I got to pick up all my brass so that I can reload it later in the future when SHTF really does happen. We'll see you next time.